Let's see if this changes how much I can word wrap this, or it does not. Hmm. One thing I could technically do is... Yep, no, that looks stupid as hell. Yeah, no. So I don't want to degrade the actual quality of the text. OBS is weird. I mean, you can set a custom width, but it only takes up a fraction of the screen. So maybe instead we could have two different ones that scroll, one for like donations or like messages and strictly donations. And we can have them both scroll. Maybe. See, in that case, we can have a add donation method, message method, which will append all of that. And then we can have a add donation without a message. And then we can have that add donation as a sort of middle ground. You do self user and bits. Right. And then we can have previous message donations and previous non-message donations. Non-message donations. And this is just as simple as copying this, going up here, and instead of applying a message that doesn't exist, we just say user and bits. Maybe we can make this look a little bit different. And of course we would also need to apply some padding. I'll also do the same with the bottom. Right, and add donation will kind of be that middle ground. We could say if length of message is greater than 0, then we could just say self dot add donation message. We should do that. Add donation message, and this will take in user, bits, and message. We'll just do an else self add donation without message, user, bits. Right, and this is all to basically just say self dot add donation, user, bits, and I think I used text. And I don't gotta do this bullshit anymore. So we can still do user box. We can still do args. And for the actual message box, word wrap custom amount. That's great. I'm so glad it's so small. We could do 2,000, 4,000, 96, and instead of making it as small as that, we're just going to make it to where that it fits nicely right there. Awesome. All right, and we will do the exact same thing for the username. Properties, custom text width, 4,096. And what else? I wish there was a way to center the text. But we'll go like that. Right, so we add a donation. Now what we could do is update this. Message scroll, and this will be dono scroll for donations. This will be previous message donations, previous non-message donations. Right. Of course, this is no longer that. We'll just say args. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Hit this. We can see if I do cheer 0. It's probably not going to work because I don't have these set up. But I will rename this source to be the message scroll. And we will also have one of them as donations. Hello. Okay, that's nice. Wasn't expecting it to do that. This will also be 4096. Why the hell is this so large? Probably because it's not scaled down. Is there a font size in this? Doesn't look like it. See, if there was a font size, I could totally use it. But since there's not, using it would be pretty difficult to do. So we could do that. One's slightly bigger than the other, but one is also hanging out of the screen a little bit. That should be fine. Alright, we'll do that. And if I send cheer 0, we get an error. Let's see. In here, what are we checking against? Previous donation. This needs to be previous non-message donations. Pretty long name, but that's what you get whenever you have different kinds of things for the exact same thing. And we've also got it here. Alright, we'll try this one more time. We still get a WebSocket error. Maybe because they are not defined. Thanks for calling me out. Let's see. I don't see any sort of text that changed. Let's see. Previous non-message, previous message. We're doing that. Let's see. Let's print user. So we do also print that, so that means that it is working. I'm just not too sure. Maybe if we do that, but we're able to just pass along args as a list. And it's not happening because TTS message scroll. TTS Dona scroll. Previous non-message scroll. Let's go ahead and see what that does. See, it is showing up here. If I do that again, we can see that it does append itself correctly. We're writing to the text field. And these are set up the exact same way as this. I didn't spell something wrong, did I? Doesn't look like it. Input settings, input name, input settings, text, and a list of strings. I'm going to try and copy it. Alright, we can see that it's still here, but this still hasn't updated this at all. It is visible. We could see if it's resetting this. And if I do cheer 0, it does reset. So it is overwriting the items there. It's just not setting it correctly. Right, if I do the same thing with args real quick. And do cheer 0, this is lit. Right, we could print out this list and it's the exact same thing. Right? But oh, it's not showing up. Huh. This is showing up. What did I do differently in these? I don't know if that's the problem. Well, it's set to chat log mode. TTS was set to that. Turn that off. This isn't set to it, so it should have shown up down here. And this isn't set to it either. Let's try it one more time. Would help if I was actually typing. Right, so can't even see the box for the string, for the TTS message. Not until we actually hover over it. What if I set this down to 0? Right, that should still show up here either way. And everything is above this. That's so weird. Maybe our OBS is acting funky? I've also got word wrap turned on. I doubt that would do anything. Yeah, no, that doesn't do anything. Uh-oh. Um, hmm. It's not doing anything. It was working just a second ago. Maybe we're making too many calls? Because, I mean, ARGS does have some data in it. And obviously our username is working. If I go up into TTS username, delete that, cheer 0, we can see that it does that. So that means that it is setting up both the bits and the args. I mean, what I could try is to just copy this, make sure that nothing is implicitly deleting it. I don't see why anything would, because it doesn't do that for the user or the bits. Nah, that ain't doing it. Huh. Let's go back into properties. Word wrap, we'll bring this back up to 4096. And I don't know of any way to prohibit this from actually changing. Let's see, we know it's not this. Could very well just be OBS. I'm gonna see if there's a way that I can restart the connection. I mean, I could. Just be actually closing it and doing that. Oh. Yeah, that didn't add anything still. Huh. Yeah, I'm gonna see in our WebSocket. We do have it enabled. Debug logging, server port. And it is open, right? We can see that it's open right here. So we can't really do much aside from that. Let's see. Maybe it is just too many WebSocket calls. So if I delete all of this, rerun this, nah, can't be WebSocket calls if that. We could also do this is working. Okay, so it is working, right? Hmm. Maybe we hold off on adding the donation till we're down here. And also adding these down here. Huh. Are we passing the args correctly? I know I should have checked that earlier, but if we go into cheer, we just say args equals args. Well, I mean, of course we're passing them correctly. We're able to see them. And we're able to force it to update something. So what I'm going to do real quick is bring it back to where it was before, up in here. Right? And I'm just going to yank this, close, don't want to save. TTS manager, nope, that wasn't it. Command manager. Wait, what was it? Oh, it was our WebSocket manager. I'm stupid. Right, so if I do this instead, and pass, so for all I know, it might not be able to work with lists like that, right? It was working fine whenever we had it set like this. But what we're going to do is remove some of these. We're not going to keep track of any character counts. We're just going to say text plus equals arg plus space. Right? And use text in here instead. What's going on here? Bits temp 1. Oh. I need to fix that. Cheer 0. Right, so that is the problem. This does not do well with lists of strings, and I am dumb. Right, so what we could do as well is keep track of their previous links. Self dot message donation length int equals, we'll just say 0. And we could do the same thing here. Length nah, because once we get into the bigger ones where it's like maxed out at 10, then we can't really detect that. So we'll just let it update every time. But what we will do is basically just reuse text and just pass in text for all of these. And then text. Right, so now if I do this, cheer 0, wish there was a way. There probably is. Size. There we go. Okay, not quite what I thought would happen whenever I did that. 72. God awfully big. For now, we're just going to work with this. Slowly, as it gets sharper and sharper and smaller and smaller. Well, I mean, now it's actually taking up the entire length of the screen. Okay, I'll take that. Because then we don't need to worry about the message or the donation. All of it can be put together. Or we keep them but separate them. Right? We could put donations at the top and messages at the bottom. Right? And all I did was set the font size to what, 72? I don't know how I got this other one so nice. There we go. I don't like how... Are these the same size? No, they're definitely not the same size. What did I set the font to in this one? It is also 72. What we could do real quick is actually apply some text so that way it looks. Oh, see, it's the actual height of it is determined by the user name. So having it set like that instead makes that work. Right, this is also kind of hard to see, so I may do it a little bit differently, but for games that cover the entire screen, it shouldn't be an issue. Right, so we have half of the puzzle, right? If I actually say cheer 0, this is an actual message. Oh, that's not good. Okay. I feel like this is because we copy it in here, like that. So what it should be instead is this plus this. We can do that. dot joint message. Right, if we do that, then say cheer 0, this should look fine now. Right, so what's the point in all of this though if it's not actually scrolling, right? So what we're going to do now is I think we could select both of these items, go into filters, add, scroll, say scroll, horizontal speed, we could have that go pretty quick. Maybe slow it down a little bit. I do like that. Limit height, limit width. Oh, I can actually limit the width of this. I like that. So we will just have this set to be the maximum length of that, and looks like I cannot do them both at the same time, which is fine. Donations, this will be also a scroll effect, and we could set that to be a little bit slower than the actual text. This would be maybe 150, maybe 200. I think I like that, having them out of sync a little bit. Now if I say cheer 0, this will actually be like that, and it doesn't actually reset the scroll effect either. And you said we can now have the last 10 messages down here. I want to see how well it'll actually space them out. So I don't like how they look right here. So I'm going to close this out. Oh, that's why. It's because we just join message here. So after we join it, we should probably have some sort of bar to signify, hey, there is a message coming through right here. Right, and we should only have to do it on one side, because if it loops around to the very front, then I don't think it would be an issue. So my next test is going to be, if I do a bunch of these messages, does it extend the actual because I feel like what will happen is, yeah, that. So I want this to not do that. I would like it to be able to continuously scroll, right? So in this case, we will go into here, properties, and remove the custom width. And we'll try this one more time to see if it fixes it. It does not. So we want this to scale across accordingly. We don't have word wrap. Oh, that's why. There we go. And our donation scroll is empty now. So now this just goes on indefinitely, right? I don't see any sort of overlap between them. Do see some fragmentation at the top. But what we're going to do now is right, I wanted to see if that would get cut off or anything like that. Doesn't look like it did. So we got that going. Right, and we can keep that going. I want to see just how I would like to see that. Right, we can also kind of keep this sort of bar going here too. So we got that basically like that. All right, and we've already got a little bit of an issue. We can see that it's trying to do that. We will turn this to 0, right? So now it just scrolls across the entire screen easily. Right, we can actually see that it is going off the screen. I don't know why it doesn't do that for this one. It might. But yeah, that is pretty cool, honestly. And we could bring this down a little bit more, bring the chat down a little bit more. And to give it a better feel, we're actually going to do the exact same thing with the font here. Because right now it's set up at a ridiculously high value. Huh, I wonder why it made it so skinny. Wait, I wonder if we have... If I go to select font, if I make it smaller in this, does it make it bigger? No, actually just makes it smaller. Right, but this is also set up to have a maximum length of the screen. So we're going to work with this a little bit. Right, I want it to be 48. And I want the scale to, the max width would probably just be, what, like 300? Then scale that up a little bit. So if I do this, say this is a test TTS message meant to emulate actual length. So now we want to be able to make that actually fit. If we do 36, that looks a little bit better. If we do 20, that looks pretty good in my opinion. It's also low quality, as I'm starting to notice. So we can probably go for a higher quality font as well for the majority of our text. Writing system, any. Select font. Ubuntu nerd font. See, that looks a little bit higher quality. We'll detach this a little bit. Alright, and this one will probably be like 36 as far as scale goes. And we can change the length of this to better reflect that. It'll be the same length as the chat. I set it to 500, right? I set it to 300. Let's set this to 500. Because, I mean, all of these are pretty massive in comparison to what I think it is. We'll select font, go down to 48. We could do that. I think that looks a bit better. Alright, we've also got this name sitting over here. Don't want it to be as big. Could do something like that. I'll probably make this a little bit smaller. Do 400. Okay. That's not terrible. Right, and down here we'll just do the exact same thing that we did for the top. Make it 48. And we will put some text in there. Alright, we can also see that it is not doing too hot. Right, we want it to be able to scale like that. Let me go ahead and cancel that. Start this up again. Cheer 0. So we can see that it is like that. And if I do cheer 0, this is a test. We can see that it does that. I only want it to go around once before it does all this. So if I go into filters, scroll width, we'll just set that back down to 0. Close. It's acting like it's got this, right? I'll try doing this one more time. Right. We can see that this just sizes naturally with it. I wish, because there's a maximum, I wish there would be a minimum for the actual length of this. Because, I mean, having it set like this seems fine, but it's completely impractical. So maybe if we go I mean, there isn't any reason for this to be acting the way it is, right? Because why is this having a maximum size, even though it shouldn't? It should just map to the text. I'm going to delete this real quick, and then just re-implement it. Alright, we'll set this all the way back to here. Bring it down here. This would need to go like that. Bring it down a smidge. Custom width. Right, I don't see any point in having an actual word wrap like that. So I guess this could just get more and more populated as it goes. Which is exactly what I wanted to begin with. Scroll. This one will go 300. Close. And now we could just say cheer. I wish it would let me select that whenever I click it. This is a test. Right, so why is this repeating itself so many times like this, bro? I mean, you don't see this up here doing the same thing. If I close this down, I also don't like just how big that's trying to be. If I close it down and redo this, we can see if I do that, it only goes out to that size. Okay, see, now it's actually working correctly. Thus. Alright, so that is kind of working now, right? That is pretty nice. I think having filler text would be nice, but also having it store like the last person who said anything on there would also be pretty cool. And then for like the next stream, and then once they chat or donate, it'll just clear it, put all the new stuff in there. I think that'd be pretty nice. But yeah. So now we can go ahead and return this. Because it is at a pretty good point, in my opinion. We can see TTS messages. We can keep them displayed at the top and bottom for just straight up donations or messages. So that way, if anybody missed it or wanted to reread it, they can do that. And of course, I can still hear it all,